I, 32 meters. Love being a dad. My wife, 30F. Seems to regret our decision. I want to start by saying, my wife is a great mom and in no way am I worried about my child with her. We chose to have a child. It wasn't an accident. My wife went to therapy for postpartum and I try my hardest to sympathize with what she went through. I am the father of the most amazing 2-year-old little girl. Being a dad has been the most amazing experience of my life. It has given me a sense of purpose that I've never felt. I came from a very impoverished background and I get so much joy from providing my family the things that I always wished I had as a child. The experience seems to be very different for my wife. She often expresses how she can't wait to get through the stages we are in now, so she can have all her freedoms back. We both work full-time jobs and equally share in all aspects of parenting, housework. So it isn't like she is with my daughter constantly or carrying the load alone. I am a very active, present parent. I handle the wake-up routine. I handle baths. And I put her to sleep at night. It seems like my wife is always so frustrated when I arrive home after she has had her alone for a bit. She also seems frustrated when we are all home for the entire weekend with no gaps of our daughter going to the sitters. Her patience for my daughter seems to be getting shorter and shorter. Honestly, it breaks my heart to see. Our daughter is obsessed with her and she will be trying to play, interact, and share excitement with my wife, but my wife is just so short and acts so bothered by her energy. This has been bothering me for a few months. But last week was the point where I knew I needed to do or say something. The 3 of us contracted COVID. My wife and I are fully vaccinated. But we still both got pretty sick. During our quarantine, there were some difficult moments of having to be a parent while trying to fight through illness. The issue is that my daughter was ill too. My wife acted so frustrated by everything my daughter needed and even more annoyed when my daughter would get little short bursts of feeling good enough to play and be a toddler. She helped me make sure she had everything she needed. But there seemed to be no tenderness. It was like she wasn't understanding that our little girl was feeling just as bad as we were. It really shook me. I had already decided I wanted another child someday. We talked about it and my wife made it clear she does not. I respect that decision, as it is her body and infinitely more of a difficult decision for her to have to carry another child. I respect her enough that I'd never press her on it, though it does make me a bit sad. I love my wife and her happiness is equally important to me. But I'm struggling with what to about how she handles our daughter. She doesn't come from a very loving family background and I don't want that cycle to continue with us. Your wife needs some counseling. Push for this. Some people think they want kids until they have them and reality sets in. This may be the case here. Or it could be that she's having a loss of personal identity. I know I struggled with that in the early years. Not wanting to be just mom or just wife and lose out on who I am, was as a struggle. Definitely personal therapy and couples therapy to get to the root of this. Women can be really guilted into not automatically loving their offspring in society. Doing this without judgment will be difficult. I see a lot of people here talking about PPD and PPA and counseling. Therapy. All of that's fine and everything, but sometimes the simplest answer is the correct one. You've seen it. Irritation. Lack of enthusiasm. I am very close friends with a coworker and knew her ever since her first baby was 6 months old. And I saw how much she was always wanting her in-laws or her mother to watch them never really took a lot of joy out of it. I was floored when she had a second kid. Both of these girls have had issues because they know their mother is not very warm to them. Publicly she acts like it and talks about the kids and how much she does for them, but I've seen interactions over a very long period of time and the effect it's had on the kids. It seems unusual to society, but there are some women who just don't bond or have the interest that they thought they would. We seem to accept it more readily for some reason in men, but there are women out there that just aren't cut out for it. I'm sure she loves her, of course, but doesn't feel the joy even during toddler times that you do. She may never. You all will just have to navigate how she feels. And let her do the best she can and wants to, I guess. Is she not loving at all or just annoyed sometimes? Are there any moments for affection? Does she just need a vacation? Everyone parents different and there's no right or wrong as long as the child is happy and healthy. I'm also someone who can't wait until my child is older and more independent. It's hard. Not everyone experiences parenting the same way, and I do suspect when your daughter is a bit older and more independent, your wife will be a very different person about parenting. That said, talk to her about it. But come from a place of understanding. Ask how she's feeling. Ask how you can help or if she needs a bit of a break. That's perfectly natural and normal. She may certainly regret your decision for a while or feel trapped and like her freedom and sense of self is gone. I also imagine as a woman there's a lot more outside pressure to be a certain kind of mom, and if she was a dad, society would look at her struggles very differently. Choosing to have a child and actually parenting are also very different. So, I would also encourage her to get a hobby if she doesn't have one. To engage in that, and friends. And for you to as well. Not just PPD, but she had a rough childhood too. Maybe she doesn't know how to love a child because she never experienced that. Either way, she needs counseling. The toddler years are tough. I know that when my kids were that age I hated it. I couldn't stand the sticky fingers, the constant nonsense and noise. It was really hard for me to connect emotionally with my kids due to previous trauma. I was raised in a pretty chaotic, unstable, emotionally absent environment. Was passed around from place to place 'cause I was challenging. When I got older I thought that having a baby would fix all those broken parts of me and I could love a child the way I was never loved. The reality was a lot different. I was just angry and resentful. I didn't know how to have an emotional connection because that just wasn't ever modeled for me. I can't stress how important therapy is when it comes to that. I wish I had done a lot more. A lot sooner. It got easier as they got older. Were able to communicate more. Weren't so dependent all the time. Then I was able to enjoy them much more. And now that they're teenagers we have a much better relationship. But those first few years were brutal. I wish I had done more therapy. I'm sure my kids struggled. I'm sure I'll be helping them pay for therapy when they're older, sigh. But hindsight is always 2020. I hope your wife is willing to go back to therapy and discuss her attachment struggles. It doesn't always come naturally that you love and adore your children, and some stages are harder than others. But I think it does get easier. Are you 110% sure she wanted a child and didn't just succumb to your wants? How is therapy going? Do you and your wife make time for each other? Date nights? You said she has PPD, correct? I'm not surprised she's like that. I think mothers with PPD struggle to bond with their children. Also, I would suggest you yell her these things, but be sensitive. You don't want to accuse her of being a bad mother. It might be an unpopular opinion, but there is a great book about this. Regretting Motherhood by from Orna Donath. Motherhood might not be the best decision for everyone. And sometimes it has nothing to do with being a bad mother or having something against children or the particular child in this case. And it is really a taboo to talk about regretting having children without being cast as a bad, child-hating parent. But sometimes women are pushed into becoming mothers by societal standards, etc. I really recommend this book. It explains so much and has some great notions how to begin to solve the issue. It gets easier over time. I did not want kids at all and had similar struggles for a long time. My first pregnancy was a surprise and way past termination when I found out I was pregnant. Ended up having twins after being denied a tubal ligation twice and in an abusive relationship. My ex wanted a fourth and I refused. Fought for sterilization and I'm so glad for that. Now that I'm a single parent and my oldest is a teenager, I love spending time together, but the baby, toddler, child years are not for everyone. I never really enjoyed parenting until my kids were around 7. It was an endurance test every day and I had a lot of support. When people tell me, "You'll miss the baby phase," I laugh. I absolutely never will. I recoil at other people's children. I love my kids. Show it, and I'm a dutiful single parent. I'm a great auntie as well, but other people's kids, no thanks. It's not an easy place to be. People love to demonize women who don't want to be mothers or mothers who don't absolutely love a parenting role. Those people are not my concern anymore because frankly I don't care, but for someone who is struggling with loving the parenting role, especially a new mom, counseling is a great opportunity to vent it out. I regularly seek counseling on and off, and this is a topic I come back to often. The only other thing I want to add is good on you for recognizing how adding another child would not benefit the family unit as a whole. I have a 3-year-old son who is very hard to handle. He is sweet, but he has way too much energy and is extremely stubborn. I'll be honest. I love him with all my heart. But if someone told me I could undo it and I wouldn't remember him, I would. That makes me feel like a bad person. But it's the truth. I suffer with depression and sensory issues, and it makes the situation worse for me. I've wished away parts of his childhood. And it definitely has gotten better when some of those things passed. He started school recently and I couldn't get him in there fast enough. Some people aren't as patient with children as others. You may find as your daughter gets older your wife gets better with her. That's normal. If she is being loving with her and shows her affection, doesn't hurt her, etc., I don't think you need to worry. Let her grow into being a parent more. As for another one, I think it would be a bad idea. I know that's tough as you want a second. But that could be something that really hurts her mentally. I know I for sure couldn't handle a second child. I already feel like I'm struggling too much. Anyways, every situation is different. I think counseling for her and both of you would be good to do. I just wanted to give my experience to maybe give you some help. I'm a woman with ADHD and about 3 months ago I adopted a puppy. I thought it would be all walks and fun. Instead I found that her bursts of energy and constant need for attention to be infuriating. Cleaning up her messes threw my daily routine into chaos. This really embarrassed and irked me. I hated my decision to have a dog. Maybe your wife is extremely stimulated by your kid? She could be neurodivergent? If she's seeing a therapist, maybe suggest she look into coping mechanisms for excessive noise. Touching. See where the seeds of her frustration lie so you two can figure out how to reconfigure the environment to better suit all three of you. IDK you or your wife, so I'm just suggesting a possibility if you haven't thought of it already. Good luck. At least you are taking steps toward solutions. Parents can only do the best they can. I wonder what your relationship dynamics were before having a child. Not everyone likes the toddler stage. That's okay. As long as she's still being a good mom. Give her as much freedom as you can and enjoy all the extra snuggles you get. Their relationship will evolve as your daughter gets older. You don't just get some therapy in postpartum anxiety or depression just magically disappears. Therapy helps us process it and gives us the tools to cope, but it's still an ongoing thing. My daughter is 3.5 and PPA hit me bad after her. I still struggle with it even though it's gotten better, and more often than not I feel fine. If there are rough moments, therapy has helped me recognize the triggers and communicate my needs to my husband in order to work through it. It took years of fighting to get better to get there though. Supplements help tremendously, or medication. Your wife sounds like she needs more therapy and also to check in with her doctor. There's a real possibility that her hormones are off too, which can contribute to mood swings, irritability, inability to bond, etc. Having kids is so overwhelming, and even though you are an active and engaged partner, I'm sure there's still issues she's not able to communicate properly. Does she have a support network of other moms in the same stage in life she talks to? Being able to openly discuss issues with women who have been there or are there helps as well. Your daughter will pick up on this more and more the older she gets if nothing gets fixed, done about it. This was my mom and nothing was ever done or changed. I felt like I annoyed my mom. I felt like she was just so tired of being a mom. Tired of seeing my face. Tired of me asking her for this or that. She really just didn't want to be around me. And I knew it. Sucked a lot. Speculation based on some research I had to do for a paper I wrote once, so take this with a grain of salt. But if your wife suffered from postpartum for a longer length of time, it's possible it disrupted her ability to bond with her baby. Since it sounds like she is a great mother in the mechanics department and you are just noticing that she doesn't have a lot of the fulfillment that you both expected from the experience of being a mother, it could be that the connection between them needs strengthening. My first thought was that if she's a career woman and she had left her career to be a parent, then she may be missing something that brought her self-esteem. But you said she is still working, so maybe not. That's what made me dredge that thought out of the recesses of my mind. This could be an after effect of the postpartum depression, even if she has been fine for a while. Now, I would suggest she see her counselor again. Maybe do some research on bonding for mothers and newborns and see if there was anything your wife missed out on because of her struggles. That research, if you were able to find anything that makes sense, might be a nice way to ease into the discussion of having her talk to her counselor about it. It's less a, you need to see a shrink, and more, look what I found about mother and children bonding. Do you ever feel this way? Single quote. Considering she was open to counseling and treatment for the postpartum depression, she will likely be receptive to counseling again if it's approached correctly. Since there are already awesome responses from other people about motherhood, I'm worried about the babe. I hope this doesn't go on for too many years. Because I got anxiety disorder very young. As a kid, I was constantly scared that I've made her angry, or I have done something wrong. But now that I think about it, those were very normal things that kids do. Knocking things over, for example. She was always yelling at me on top of her lungs and very impatient. Already expecting me to act properly like an adult when I was only 48 years old because she couldn't wait for the phase to end. My dad was very busy. Or even when he was present, he was too scared of her to say anything. He just went eyes and silent every time she yells and get angry. So I learned to do that too. Feeling guilty when I didn't even do anything wrong. As a result, I was the silent kid that every adult loved. AWWN she's so mature and quiet. So well behaved. I didn't play with others. Run around or cry because I was trying to be adult for her. I'm an adult now but still dealing with anger issues and anxiety disorder. Because expressing everything with anger and silent treatments are the only things I learned. Don't know how to share excitement or any emotions. Now she calls me robot. Since you were quite involved in taking care of your little girl, you have chance to do something different. Because kids do remember. Get a nanny or mother's helper and insist your wife goes out with friends more. Like 2x a month or so.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.